talk about the Minnesota Vikings. The Minnesota Vikings are entering a big year for this upcoming season with JJ projected to be their starting quarterback. We have seen the Minnesota Vikings over the last few years with Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell has been one of the best head coaches in the NFL. Over the past 3 years, he has a record of 34-17. But unfortunately for him, he is 0-2 in the NFL playoffs against the Los Angeles Rams. And we go back a few years ago against the New York Giants. Yes, the Minnesota Vikings lost against the New York Giants. For context, in that matchup, you had Coach Ed as the defensive coordinator. He was terrible. One of the worst defensive coordinators in the NFL at that time. And they won a lot of one-score games because their defense was atrocious. But their offense with Kirk Cousins was one of the better offenses to have in the NFL. The year after that, Kirk Cousins goes down with Achilles injury. But before he went down with that Achilles injury, he was leading the league in passing touchdowns. You brought in a brand new defensive coordinator and Coach Brian Flores. And as soon as the defense started to gel together, that's when Kirk Cousins went down. There were a lot of talk about them possibly bringing back Kirk Cousins. He goes over to the Atlanta Falcons. They had to go out there and bring in a brand new quarterback replacement. They went with Sam Darnold in free agency. On top of that, they drafted JJ in the first round, and they also drafted Dallas Turner. Remember the name of Dallas Turner when I talk about the defense. But they went with Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold at this point in time was just a journeyman quarterback. Not too many people focused in on Sam Darnold being a potential franchise quarterback. He goes out there and he has the best season of his career. He was in the MVP conversation for the first half of the regular season. That is how good Sam Darnold was. And I want to give Sam Darnold and Kirk Cousins a lot of credit. You have to go out there and feel pressure and deliver the football on a consistent basis to those wide receivers. But the situation they were in was helped built by the general manager and Kevin O'Connell, the head coach himself. He helped Kirk Cousins get big time deals with the Minnesota Vikings. He just helped Sam Darnold get a big payday from the Seattle Seahawks that came out of the system with Kevin O'Connell. And now you look at JJ. The plan all along was for Sam Darnold to go out there and start a year or two and then roll into JJ. The Minnesota Vikings have seen up close and personal what the Green Bay Packers have done. With Aaron Rodgers, he got to sit behind Brett Favre for a couple of years. Jordan Love, he got to sit behind Aaron Rodgers for a couple of years. They wanted that type of mold. Unfortunately for JJ, he was not healthy his rookie season. He tore his meniscus in the preseason. He missed the entire regular season. It could be a blessing in disguise. He got to sit back and learn from Sam Darnold and see that system up close and personal. I will say this. I am high on JJ McCarthy, but he was not asked to go out there and to be the main leader for that Michigan team that won the national championship 2 years ago. That was not JJ's place with Michigan and the Wolverines. They ran the football. He worked off a play action bootleg and he delivered the football into tight windows every now and then, especially on third down. This is going to be a very good fit for any quarterback in the NFL, especially for a quarterback that Kevin O'Connell gets to groom. If JJ can stay healthy, he can be a top quarterback in the NFL. His skill set is better than Kirk Cousins, and the same with Sam Darnold. And it's not me saying that he's a better player than both of those quarterbacks right now, because no one knows what JJ is. We got to see him in the preseason. He had a couple of good snaps. But when I look at JJ, if he can stay healthy for an entire season, and if this offensive line can protect him up front, look at the weapons he has on the outside. He has Justin Jefferson, one of the best wide receivers in the game. Justin Jefferson just had 1,533 receiving yards, 10 receiving touchdowns. He averaged 15 yards a catch. Jordan Addison, on most teams in the NFL, he will be a number one wide receiver. At the tight end spot, you have one of the best receiving tight ends in TJ. And he missed majority of last season dealing with a torn ACL injury he suffered the year before. Those are three great weapons to have on the outside. And you look at the depth pieces, you bring in Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore is not a true number one or a true number two. But if he can come in as a number 4 or a number 5 wide receiver in certain situations, that's a very good spot for him, especially in this offense with Kevin O'Connell. You have Jalen Naylor. He gave you a lot of good production last season. On only 28 catches, he had 414 receiving yards, 6 receiving touchdowns. He averaged 15 yards a catch. I like what the Minnesota Vikings have done over the last few years by stockpiling the skill position. It helps out your quarterback of the future. And it's more than just that. When the Minnesota Vikings lost to the New York Giants a couple of years back in the playoffs, they were getting their butts kicked by Dexter Lawrence up front. When they lost against the Los Angeles Rams, Sam Darnold got sacked 9 times. He had a fumble that went for 6. The Minnesota Vikings interior of their offensive line has not been good for the last decade plus, not consistently. Shout out to the general manager once again. He goes out there and he brings in the top offensive lineman in free agency. Remember, you didn't go out there, you didn't give Sam Darnold a major contract extension. You didn't overpay for Kirk Cousins. JJ's on a rookie deal. So you can maximize that window right now, and that's what you're doing. So bringing in weapons like Ryan Kelly at the center position and Will Fries at the right guard position, that should definitely help you out. And remember this, your division is one of the toughest divisions in all of football. But look at the conference you're in. You're in the NFC. You have to worry about the Philadelphia Eagles, the New York Giants, the Detroit Lions, the Green Bay Packers. All of those teams can get to the quarterback at a consistent rate. And the same with the Chicago Bears up front. You have to protect JJ, and it's more than just going out there and protecting your quarterback. It was so many times last season to where Aaron Jones, he doesn't have room in the middle of the field. He just bounced it out to the outside. Now you have guards, and now you have a center that can move people out the way and can buy some breathing room for Aaron Jones. And you selected Donovan Jackson in the first round, a big left guard coming from the Ohio State University. That's a situation that you want to place your young quarterback in. He already has suffered a knee injury before. And JJ, he has very good athleticism. He's not going to run around like Lamar Jackson, but he has enough athleticism to make plays off script. But if you keep him protected inside the pocket, especially with your interior offensive line, he can step up into throws. I always look at offensive linemen like this. When they're really good, that's when you notice them. You're going to say, hey, that quarterback has a lot of time in the pocket. When they're really bad, you're definitely going to notice them. Go up to a New York Giants fan. They'll tell you who Andrew Thomas is. He's one of the best left tackles in the game. But Evan Neal is going to come up first because he's terrible. And that has been the case with the Minnesota Vikings. At the tackle position, Brian O'Neill, he's a solid right tackle. Christian at the left tackle position, he's phenomenal. And he missed significant time last season in the regular season game when he went against the Rams and he got injured. He missed the rest of the regular season. And that definitely hurt their offense moving forward. Sam Darnold did not have that much time in the pocket. It doesn't matter about the wide receivers you have on the outside. If you have a Justin Jefferson, you have a Jordan Addison, you can have Randy Moss on the outside. If your quarterback doesn't have enough time in the pocket, he's going to get sacked repeatedly. He's going to get pressured. He can't release those clean throws. Look at what the Chiefs just went against with the Philadelphia Eagles. Kirk Cousins was limited with the Minnesota Vikings. He didn't have the talent to go outside the pocket and make crazy plays. But he was most definitely limited when he could not step up into his throws. You're giving JJ more protection up front with those weapons on the outside, and you're giving him a consistent run game, hopefully, with this offensive line. And this is the one thing I would say about Kevin O'Connell. Kevin O'Connell has fixed the little things with the Vikings moving forward. You had a bad defensive coordinator. You bring in Brian Flores. You move off of Coach Ed. I love that move. You could not run the football in the last season with Kirk Cousins. The interior of your offensive line was not good enough. Your running backs weren't good enough. You go out there, you bring in Aaron Jones, a tough player from the Green Bay Packers. He's a definition of a one-cut back. The blocks may not be there, but he could kick it out to the outside. He could catch the football out of the backfield in screen situations. The run game was better this season. This is what Aaron Jones did with a below-average interior offensive line. 1,138 rushing yards, 5 rushing touchdowns, 4.5 yards a carry. He can easily average 5 yards a carry behind this offensive line, potentially. And you bring in Jordan Mason, who is a very good running back with Kyle Shanahan. And that system is running back friendly. But when you look at Jordan Mason, he's the type of running back that you want to have in this system behind Aaron Jones. So overall, the offense that JJ is walking into has big time potential, and they're setting him up for major success. I'm not going to come on here right now. We're many months away from the regular season. And I'm not going to say the Minnesota Vikings will be the best team in this division, but potentially they can be. I'll say this right now. Things can change. It's sports. Players may get injured. Let's knock on wood and hope that doesn't happen. But they're setting JJ up for major success with the moves that they have made within the last few years. Even before they drafted JJ, they're making the small moves to have a big impact in the future. And I love Kevin O'Connell, coach of the year. Eventually, you have to win a playoff game, and you have to win games against ugly teams like the Philadelphia Eagles and the Detroit Lions. I don't call those teams ugly because they're bad football teams. I call them ugly football teams because they're aggressive and they can get to the quarterback up front. But JJ should be fighting this system with Kevin O'Connell. Now, when I look at this defense, I'm very impressed to see what this defense has looked like within the last few years with Brian Flores. If he continues to coach at a high level, he will be a head coach once again. Many people may forget he was a head coach with the Miami Dolphins. It didn't work out. He wasn't the biggest fan of Tua. He rubbed some of the players the wrong way. He also had a lawsuit with the NFL. But he comes over to the Minnesota Vikings, tremendous defensive mind. But a lot of his plays and a lot of his scheme is based off of general pressure up front. You lost Pat Jones in free agency. He is now with the Carolina Panthers, but this is why you selected Dallas Turner in the first round. Dallas Turner last season in a limited role had a high pressure rate, only 3 sacks, 1 interception. He comes over from Alabama. He has potential to be one of the best pass rushers with the Vikings. Get him more reps up front. I need to see more Dallas Turner. He has heavy hands. He can set the edge. We know that he can stop the run. He can also get to the quarterback on a consistent basis when we go back and look at his tape for Alabama. He has big time potential, and it's more than just him. And it's more than just what you did with your interior of your offensive line. You got bigger and stronger up front with your defense by bringing in Javon Hargrave. Javon Hargrave, over the last few years, has dealt with a lot of injuries. He's a shell of his former self. You're not getting the same Javon Hargrave that played with the Philadelphia Eagles, but you're getting a very good player that can go out there and stop the run and eat up double team steal. And hopefully a guy like Jonathan Grenard, who had a strong season last year, 12 sacks, 4 forced fumbles, can go out there and face a lot of one-on-one situations. And having that young pass rusher in Dallas Turner should definitely help you out. You also bring in Jonathan Allen, a very good run stopper, 3 sacks last season, can put pressure on the quarterback. It's about having versatility up front and having depth with Brian Flores in his system. He blitzes a lot, which compromises his secondary. The secondary with the Minnesota Vikings, they're up and down depending on the quarterback. But if the pressure can get home, it doesn't matter. And that's the one thing with Brian Flores. If this defense can work out with the pieces that they have up front, they have a potential top defense in the NFL for this upcoming season. So by adding in those veteran pieces, Jonathan Allen, Javon Hargrave, pairing them up with Harrison Phillips, who was a very good run stopper in his own right, is going to make it hard as hell to run the football against the Minnesota Vikings for yet another season with Brian Flores. You just gave Andrew Van Ginkel a contract extension. He deserves it. He's an underrated player. 50 solo tackles, 11.5 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 2 interceptions. Those 2 interceptions, one came against Daniel Jones, pick 6 early in the season. Just a few weeks later against Aaron Rodgers overseas in London, another pick 6. He's a very good football player. And I figured that he would fit this system. Brian Flores helped draft him with the Miami Dolphins many years ago when he was the head coach. When I look at the linebackers, I like the pieces that they have. And don't forget about Ivan Pace Jr., who is a very good interior linebacker. I think that he has potential to be a star player moving forward. He's only 24 years old. Give him time. Now, when I look at the secondary, I have some concerns here. Byron Murphy is a very good cornerback. He's their best corner right now. Byron Murphy's coming off a strong season. 1 forced fumble, 6 interceptions, 14 pass deflections. Harrison Smith, he's still holding things down at the safety position. He's 36 years old, and he plays football like he's 26. He just refuses to age. 3 interceptions last season, 10 pass deflections. Besides Byron Murphy Jr. and Harrison Smith, I don't see consistency with their secondary. Hopefully, I'm proven wrong here. That would be the one weak spot with the Minnesota Vikings would be their secondary. And I say this every time I talk about defense in depth. When you have a strong front 7, it can make an average secondary look very good. And I do believe that the Minnesota Vikings have an above average secondary. They just have a lot of unproven guys on the back end. You did sign Isaiah Rodgers in the past. He's been a very good veteran cornerback. He did get suspended because of gambling. We will see how he looks with the Minnesota Vikings. But overall, I love the coaching staff. I can't say enough good things about Kevin O'Connell and Brian Flores as defensive coordinator. But it comes down to this. Can JJ live up to that first round potential? Usually when we see quarterbacks sit for a year or two, they're better off than a quarterback that you just thrust out there as a rookie. There are going to be growing pains with JJ. Regardless, this will be his first full year starting, and I'm rooting for that. I want to see him stay fully healthy and let him gel with the weapons around him. But once again, when you have those veteran playmakers and Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, and TJ, they can mask a lot of those flaws for a young quarterback, especially in crucial situations. And if someone says that JJ was not expected to go out there and make major plays for Michigan because they ran the football, it was a lot of play action bootlegs on third down, at that time in college, over Caleb Williams, over Michael Penix Jr., he was the best quarterback in terms of third and long. When it was 3rd and 8 and over, that's when we saw JJ go out there, 5-step drop, move around the pocket, make crazy throws over and over again. And his accuracy is very good. But let me know in the comment section below, how do you feel about JJ and the Minnesota Vikings moving forward? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, I want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.